Welcome to the 15th season of the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com, Casey Kantz of WTAJ Sports, and a special guest analyst each week. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By the bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, magazines, and collectibles. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. Your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By McMullen Furniture, the friendly store with quality furniture at a reasonable price. By Scotch Valley Country Club, the area's premier golf destination. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday. You can also see the NitWits on AltoonaMirror.com.
And we're already talking. We've been talking since the game ended on Saturday, actually. It's another edition of the NitWits. Thanks for stopping by. We got the panel with us for another week, and we've got our old friend back, too, and his pen, Mike Irwin. Welcome back,
Good to be back. Thank you.
Good to have you back. Let's break down another one. Another win, back-to-back wins for Penn State. They get the 24-13 win over Temple on Saturday, and really, Neil, just continue this dominance of their in-state rival, 37 straight wins over Temple.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to start with the quarterback play. Sure. 318 yards from McGloin. And I don't know that he necessarily did anything spectacular, but I think they've really coached him up. That's the terms he's using, going a lot over the middle, spreading the ball around, taking what the offense gives. No sacks. He's running quarterback sneaks well. Just real impressed with what they're doing with Matt McGloin.
He's got his Allen Robinson and Kyle Carter, his two favorite receivers right now. But like Neil said, he worked it around to 9 different guys again on Saturday.
Yeah, he was great, but I thought, and I know we're seeing the footage of Matt McGloin here. To me, the real key to that game was the way they were able to establish the power running game. I know they didn't rush for quite as many yards, but with all of their tailbacks hurt, to get guys like Zordich and Zwinak just pounding the ball against Temple, you just saw how that kind of took the life out of the Owls. But what a great balance between passing and running, and I think we're getting a better sense of what this Bill O'Brien offense is all about.
Yeah, Mike, through 4 weeks,
what do you see? I thought the best thing, the play calling, the 4th and 5 on the 41-yard line.
Yeah.
I don't think Joe Paterno would ever have done that, being as conservative as it was. I thought it was a great call. And the other one is using the timeouts at the end of the first half to go up 14-0 after they went through a dreadful period there with all the penalties that they could possibly get. Every time we got down close, we were getting the ball back, 15-yard penalties here and there. And I don't know how many of them are legitimate or how many weren't. But I thought at the end of the half they called the 3 timeouts, and then McGloin came down and drove that team right in for another score. So that was a key turning point scoring there before the end of the half.
O'Brien gave credit to his assistant coaches because they did let 10 seconds lapse initially, and he said afterwards his assistants clued him in right away, and then he called the next 2. And they've run the 2-minute drill very well. Look what they did in Virginia.
Well, I think that goes to the quarterback. McGloin's done a great job. And the other thing that I liked about this game, maybe I didn't like it, but there's still a lot of room for improvement for this team. I mean, there are a lot of different areas. They had a lot of penalties now. I know some of them were kind of questionable. And O'Brien was the first guy to admit that they've left a lot of points out there. So as this team continues to develop, I think there's room for them to get better and better and better. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a Big Ten that stinks. This team, I don't know that they're going to win the Big Ten or anything, but I think it gives you hope if you're a Penn State fan going into the conference season.
Back to that running game. Who would have thought McGloin gets the first 2 rushing touchdowns, the first rushing touchdown, I should say, of 2012? He had 2 of them.
But I think you have to give a lot of credit to the offensive line. I mean, Mark said about the running backs, and almost anybody they've had running backs by committee, all the running backs have been done well. But you can't do it without that offensive line.
Yeah.
And some of these guys are stepping up, even with Duke's out there yesterday. I thought he was going to be the star running back, but then he gets hurt. And Zwinak coming in and doing such a superb job as this. To me, it's great to have that depth that they've had, and Zordich carrying the ball. I mean, the whole offensive scheme, I mean, like Mark said, they've been improving every week. There's something to look forward to. I think their biggest drawback, the Achilles heel, is the pass defense. I'm a little concerned about that. I mean, because the 2 games that we've lost, and not to throw a negative stance on this thing, but was as a result of our pass defense, I think, with the 2 games that we lost.
Well, you look at the running back real quick, and this really would be the 5th and 6th options as when you roll back, as Mike would say, because you would have Red, Day, Dukes, Belton, and now you're at Zordich and Zwinak, and they did run. One thing that McGloin said afterwards, he said that they've worked a lot on the quarterback sneaks, and he said O'Brien always talks about how Tom Brady has never been stopped on a quarterback sneak in 12 years, and Penn State's having a lot of success with it.
Yeah,
hitting real quickly on what Mike said, and we talked about it last week when Keith Conlon was here without his socks. This is in honor to him. That offensive line, I love how they're getting different players in there. Shrive, Ty Howell, arguably your best offensive lineman in Donovan Smith has been out the last couple games. All of a sudden, they're developing some depth there. The past few years, they really have not done that. They have not moved guys in and out like that. And again, I think you saw toward the end of that game, the second half, where that offensive line started to kind of dominate and just blow open holes, and I think it was because they were fresh.
That is a good point. And I mean, it's there. You're seeing different guys who haven't had much experience at their positions, i.e. receivers and running backs, really step up for this team right now. I think those are great things to see each and every week.
You also have to give credit to the strength coach. I think it was Craig Fitzpatrick or whatever. Because all these kids are, what's the first name?
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald. Yeah. Okay, well, I knew it was a Fitz something or
other.
Fitz. But I think these guys are in shape and they look good out there. They're stronger, they're quicker, and whoever said the offensive line would carry this team, I mean, if you look back the last few years where we're always complaining about the offensive line, they really have been doing a great job. I mean, and the defensive side of the ball, the only thing that concerns me, as I said before, is the defensive backs.
I like how this team just in general is being coached. I mean, how many different guys are touching the ball, getting opportunities on both sides of the ball. There was one moment at the beginning of the 4th quarter yesterday, and maybe this is because they have a smaller squad, or maybe I haven't noticed before, but the entire football team was around O'Brien, and it looked like they were all fully engaged, 70-some guys.
Yeah.
Still more to come on this edition of the NitWits. Coming up next, the Nittany Lions, short on depth right now. We talked about that a little bit, but they got a couple great performances from a couple guys yesterday. We'll talk about that next, the running backs.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By the bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, magazines, and collectibles. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental.
I'm Jordan Hill from the Penn State Nittany Lions. You're watching the Nitwits.
Thank you much, Jordan. Welcome back. We'll talk some injuries in just a bit. The Penn State backfield, though, certainly dealing with some of those injuries. Billy Belton, Derek Day, still healing. Curtis Dukes, we found out, apparently dealing with a thigh. So on Saturday, we saw a strong dose of the Z-Men, I guess you could say, Zordich and Zwinak. They certainly carried the load, each over 100 yards of all-purpose yards, and we talked about that a little bit in the first block on how Zordich even showing off the hands at some point.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of the old, Milne, Whitman, Manoa, Smith getting the ball and just, pounding it in there. I mean, it's so cool to see a guy like Zordich being able to do what he's doing. This is a guy who stepped up as a team leader, very vocal, and now he's backing it up. He's not only running the ball, he's catching it, he's on special teams. It's nice to see it paying off for a guy like this. And he had the one spectacular play when he went up in the air trying to hurdle the guy. It was great.
Dangerous. Didn't he? That was a little dangerous, though.
Yeah, ZZ Top. This is their best best career game for Zordich. I hope he's not injured. He did take a pretty good shot. He was walking around afterwards.
Yeah.
He was kind of laughing on the sideline. But when he initially went out, it looked like he was injured.
I talked to him right after. He was walking off the field when I was down in the tunnel, and I said, "Are you all right?" He said, "Yeah, I'm fine." So I, for what that's worth, and he was walking fine. And
Scoop Brennan over here.
Well, I mean, he was just walking off, and Neil was there. But Neil was too worried about who was Nitwit of the Week to ask any questions.
I'll break that news later. We got good news on that front.
That's right. He forgot who kicked 15 yards. Butterworth was the kicker at 15 yards.
I stand corrected.
Whoever reads you out to the mirror, he stands corrected. I think you're starting to lose a little. You're starting to lose a little bit.
Then I'll join the club. Huh?
I've lost a long time ago. Why do you think I'm part-time anymore? Because I started to lose.
Mike, one week back in the seat, he's jabbing people left and right.
Special teams. Ficken gets the field goal, and this time O'Brien went for it, build some confidence late in the game. I thought that was important. I think their coverage teams are good. They did have two borderline late. They were flagged twice for special teams penalties.
I think you take that, though. I mean, I don't think those were dirty plays, and I think guys were playing hard there. As soon as you get Ficken tightened up, here comes Butterworth struggling with a punt, and I know that was a difficult, he had to kind of run out a little bit, but, man, they got to get both of those areas kind of, I think their coverage and returns, they're going to be fine. But in terms of their specialists, one of the keys, I don't know if you saw, but they switched snappers on the placements. Ty Howell was in there snapping the ball, so I don't know what difference, if any, that made, but clearly they're looking at the situation as more than just a Ficken issue.
How about quickly on the defense? Only a couple Temple field goals, and then there was the late Matt Brown touchdown with under 2 minutes to play. But Penn State able to run the clock out after that, as we just mentioned. Coach O'Brien saying it's a sign of a good team when you hold them when you have to. And I think we saw, once again, this defense, Michael Motti, Jordan Hill, big days yesterday, or on Saturday, I should say, standing tall, as the CG would say on your screen right now.
But if you look at it, the last two teams, the Navy and Temple teams, are more of a running attack.
They are.
You go back, I still remember standing on the end zone of Virginia game, and the Virginia fans complaining about their offensive line not able to hold our people out. It's 3rd and 15 or 16, and Michael Rocco throws a 40-yard pass downfield. They let him get behind him. So that play, and then the tip pass earlier, I think we're 2 plays away from being undefeated. But you still have to take your hat off. This team just keeps getting better and better. And who would have dreamed that your 5th running back is in there being a star right now? That the depth that they have, and I think O'Brien has some decisions to make coming up on who's going to start, because I was all for Dukes. I know we argued years ago about what running back should be.
McCoo and Larry Johnson.
Eric McCoo, was a great running back down there. Who's the other guy?
I was all for Larry Johnson. I thought he had a.
I forget, but it's good to see these guys step into all this team play. I think is excellent.
Well, just as Mark's touched on, we're getting a feel for the Bill O'Brien offense. I think we're starting to get a feel for the Ted Roof defense. And I like the way he's blitzing at times, mixing in corner blitzes. Mike Hull has really become a star off the bench. It's an example of the depth that they're using.
Well, real quick with Hull, I mean, I don't know if people were noticing this, but what they were doing is on 3rd down, they were putting Hull in at middle linebacker, moving Amos to safety, and then bringing in Davis. So they weren't even playing a nickel. They were adjusting personnel to the situation, and that's another thing where we've seen a lot of nickel and dime in the past, but I think they're making an effort to get their best players on the field in the best positions to make plays. Hull may not be the biggest guy, but put him out there where he has to go after the quarterback or play some pass defense, real good player.
I was thinking about that earlier, the nickel and the dime defense, but you got a guy like Gerald Hodges who used to be a strong safety out there. I mean, there's your nickel. I mean, you have him in.
Hey, Marty
depending
played
on the
safety
scheme
in the
of things.
spring. You remember that a few years ago? I mean, so they have guys. Their linebackers are good, and the fact that they're getting Hull in there, I think, speaks to how good he is.
All right, guys, once again, Penn State downs Temple on Saturday, 24-13, improved to 2-2 on the year. When we come back, we'll take a look at the injury report. Keep it locked here on the Nitwits. We're coming right back.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By JMP Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal.
Now back to Nitwits. A roundtable look at Nittany Lion football.
You know Mike's back in the seat because he's always talking right when we come back on. Always.
That's why you have editors.
Welcome back. We're continuing to break down a Penn State 24-13 win over Temple on Saturday, improved to 38-3-1 all-time against the Owls, including 37 straight overall. Talk some injuries if we can real quickly here. Senior end Sean Stanley did not play on Saturday. He's dealing with a back issue. Bill O'Brien said he should be okay for this week, but we talked running backs earlier in the show, and we're hoping that Michael Zordich knee injury isn't anything significant. It might be a bruise or something like that.
Well, it sounded like a couple of these injuries were kept out sort of precautionary,
Yeah.
Stanley and Dukes. I mean, I don't know that they could have played yesterday, but it sounded like they would not be out long.
Dukes was in on special teams, so he
Right.
played. I think they're all day-to-day. I mean, that's Bill O'Brien's. That's his big thing.
He's not going to
Everybody's
help us a
day.
lot with that.
No, you know, if you watched before the game, Bill Belton was dressed, caught passes, fielded some punts, did not take any handoffs. Derek Day seemed to be doing everything. Donovan Smith also dressed for the first time in a while, was working with the third-team offensive line, did not play in the game. So that leads you to believe that most of these guys, I think, will be back for Illinois.
You looked at that Adrian Amos, and I was surprised. I mean, I talked to Stephon Morris after the game. He said, no, I just lost his helmet.
He was back in the next play.
He was,
It's
yeah.
incredible.
That looked a lot worse than I guess it was. But
The one guy who I think is reason for concern is Pete Massaro, because he's a really good player, a team leader. They have some good depth there at defensive end. Zettle's come on. Excuse me. Deion Barnes has obviously played well. But Massaro is the kind of guy, again, another veteran player. And, you know, O'Brien said it's going to be hit and miss with him all year, and that's the one guy that you worry about.
I'll probably butcher his name, but is it Oliniak?
Yeah.
He looked good yesterday.
He
yeah.
did.
Well, that I'm telling you, they have depth at that position all along the defensive line. They have, you know, that their front seven is pretty good. And Mike hit on it earlier. I mean, if they could tighten up their secondary, they're going to be pretty good.
You know, Mike was a cornerback. He's very sensitive to that secondary position.
Well, I never remember letting that many people get behind you in my lifetime down there.
Wasn't
And that
Bubba
was
Smith
one thing
behind you?
No,
Was that-
no, Bubba was trying to catch
that's a
me from the other
separate
side of
show.
the ball.
Let's do this.
That killed Bubba
I could
Smith.
probably tell you the number of times somebody got behind me. It wasn't too many. But
Imagine how
I
much
don't want to
longer-
go there. I want to keep this show, you know, about the current team that's
Bubba
down
would
there.
have
A lot of
lived
people-
if he didn't have to chase down you.
And let's step out for our final break so we at least have some time to talk about Illinois. How about we do that?
Good idea.
Let's step out for our final break. As mentioned, Illinois up next. We'll have our picks on the other side.
The Nitwits are brought to you by the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By McMullen Furniture, the friendly store with quality furniture at a reasonable price. By Scotch Valley Country Club, the area's premier golf destination. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
The NitWits, a weekly look at the Nittany Lions.
Alrighty, welcome back. The Nittany Lions go 2-2 in non-conference play. The Big Ten portion of their schedule will now begin next Saturday with a trip to Champaign to take on the 2-2 Illini. And Illinois looked awful on Saturday, losing to Louisiana Tech. Nathan Shieldhouse, I guess, can always present some challenges, but he's been banged up this year. He had some problems on Saturday, didn't make it out of the first quarter. Who wants to go first with their pick? I guess let's first.
Well, you are the nitwit of the week, so I want to congratulate you. You've broken.
Wasn't that convenient?
You've broken through.
Even though he wasn't even sure who was picking last week.
You don't need to tell the folks that.
No, congratulations. We don't want to rain on your parade.
Rewind
it's a great day for
guess,
KC.
yeah. It is.
So go first.
I think with Penn State, the way they've looked the past 2 weeks, the way the defense has looked, the only thing could be the crowd noise in Illinois. But I like Penn State. I think they can get a 4-point win, 24-20.
Okay, I'll jump in because I want to give Brennan every advantage. He's the only guy that hasn't cracked the scoreboard yet.
Easy.
This is a red circle game for Penn State. Illinois came in here. They tried to recruit their players. Very questionable actions by a first-year head coach at Illinois. I am sure that this coaching staff and this team is going to be totally motivated, and if they get a chance to put an extra one on Illinois, I think they're going to do it, and I wouldn't blame them. I want to say Penn State 28, Illinois 17.
Great point, Neil. Great point. Mark?
Yeah, the thing about Tim Beckman is that he went out to Big Ten Media Days after that and had a chance to work himself back from it a little bit and offer some sort of explanation or whatever for coming onto campus after the sanctions came down and recruiting Penn State players or into State College, whatever he claimed. And he didn't do it at all. He was completely unapologetic. The Penn State players and coaches are not going to say boo about this week, I'll bet you. I bet you they're – but it's in the back of their minds. And I think this is a big game for Penn State. I'm going to pick the Nittany Lions 27-14.
Mike, we got about a minute left.
And I can't do the math today. I usually have Casey doing the math at the end.
Because I'm so good at it.
But Neil was real close to what I was going to predict. But when I look at Illinois, I mean, they have a new spread offense there, and Shieldhouse has always caused them a lot of problems. But I'm not going against the Nittany Lions.
No.
I mean, I think we're going to win probably by 10 points. So let me do the math on that one. Well, I'll say.
Can you be more specific?
I'm going to say, because I know you were at 28. I'm going to say 30-17. 30-17.
I'm being squeezed a little bit off to live with it.
Mike, it's great to have you back.
It's good to be
He
back.
said 10, and then he goes 30-17. How does that?
I want to say
Are you an accountant? Or
One more
comment.
We'll see you after the Illinois week. Have a good night, everybody.
The NitWits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By The Bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, magazines, and collectibles. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just Ask Rental. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By McMullen Furniture, the friendly store with quality furniture at a reasonable price. By Scotch Valley Country Club, the area's premier golf destination. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday. You can also see the Nitwits on AltoonaMirror.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.